Welcome to Lesson 6, the Montana Nymph. This was originally an American pattern mainly for rivers. However, it found its way to this country in the 90s, where it has always been very popular for fishing the rivers and the still waters. Quite a simple fly to tie, and this is what you will need. Long shank size 8 hook, black chenille, fluorescent green chenille, cock hackle fibres for the tail, small hackle for the thorax, medium or fine lead wire about 2.5 to 3 inches long, bobbin holder and black thread, scissors, hackle pliers, and finally the head varnish and granny's hat pin. And now for lesson 6, the Montana Nymph. This one, unlike a lot of the other ones, is weighted. So I'm not going to ask you to tie the fly upside down or anything too dramatic. There's a good reason for starting off like this. When we tie the lead in, the bulk of your lead wants to be on the underside, otherwise the fly will swim upside down. And no matter how good you think your fly is, if it's upside down, the trout don't like it. So try to do it with the little tag that you're tying in with on the underside. Doesn't hurt. All you've got to do is turn it back over again when you're ready. Just about 1/4 of an inch is all you need. Just sufficient to give it a little bit of weight. Now another little pointer, if you're going weighted and unweighted flies, do your weighted flies with one colour thread and the weighted flies with one colour and the unweighted with another. But do remember which way round it is. I get confused. A little bit of varnish on there just to hold it in place. Sorry if the feather got in the way. Whip it down. The reason for whipping it down and using the varnish is simply there's nothing more infuriating when you come to tie the body on and the lead starts turning. Normally I would do a batch of weights all together, and then when they're all dry, doing them so there's nothing ticky-tacky. Doesn't make any difference, it dries very quickly. I'm going to put the tail in the normal way, bunch of fibres, tie it in, and as it's a big fly we'll actually give it 2 little bunches. The original pattern said use the tip of 2 hackles to do that. It's wasteful on hackles, and to be honest with you, I don't think it looks as nice. It certainly doesn't seem to have made any difference to the way it fishes by using a bunch of hackle fibres. Bring it up to about 3/4 of the way up. We'll tie the chenille in. Tie it in at this point in time, not at the bottom, but at the tail, as the books tell you. This way you get a far better anchor. You can now turn your chenille quite tight turns without fear of it spinning or coming out, as you have a problem like that if you just tie it in with a tip. Now the original pattern, the American style, you'd leave that on and tie it over as the wing case. I don't like that idea. I use Steve Parton's American Check Nymph. It's less bulky, adds a little bit of sparkle, and it's a lot more durable than chenille. Tie it in without taking up a lot of room. Now we're tying the small hackle, which you're going to wind through your thorax. Whoops, can't see it. There we are. And we're going to come to the fluorescent green. Now, most people just wind it through with their hands. You risk soiling your chenille, and the other thing is, if you're not careful, you'll start to shred the chenille off the thread. If you use the pliers, it eliminates that little worry. Once you've got rid of it, wind it tight and securely. Now the hackle pliers for the job which they were intended. In at the tip. Don't put too much stress on these small hackles, they might just come away at the tip. Then you've got to start all over again with the hackle. There you are, there's a hackle wound in, nice and neatly. See how I told you? Very fragile. At this point in time, you've got the wing case, thorax case, call it what you like. 4/10 to hold it in place. I'll undo that and I'll show you something. If when you start, you actually just do that, you actually manage to get a better division of the hackles that you've wound round the thorax. It's a bit naughty doing it that way, the original way, because when you do it you tend to force them all to one side. There you are, whip it down solidly. All you've got to do now is make a nice neat head. Finish it off with the double half hitch. 1 half hitch, 2 half hitch, and again, over, under. Nothing magical about this, not much easier to do than these fancy whip finish knots which everybody advocates these days. Been doing this since I was 11 and still good enough for me. And that, when that's got a good coat of varnish on it, that ain't going to give way for anything. That's all that's left to do. Just to give a spot of varnish onto the head there. I'm just giving it a dab there for you to see. Actually, when you do the job properly, you take it off the vise, and so you could do all round it. But there you are, a Montana Nymph. And that's it, the end of Lesson 6, the Montana Nymph. I hope you will join us soon for Lesson 7, when we will be doing wet flies and spider patterns by popular request. Until then, from me, Dave Cammiss and the team, happy fishing.